Hello, I'm Mike Gordon. Welcome to my perfect playthrough of Mega Man for NES as part of our perfect playthrough of Mega Man Legacy Collection. And this is kind of what I would call the not so very good Mega Man game, but let's get started. So, the order we want to do this is Gutsman first. And then we will do Bombman, Cutman. Yeah, I'm just gonna start. Yeah, it's a little confusing, but I'm gonna start with Bombman. So basically, how does Mega Man work for anyone who's. You can tackle the levels in any order that you like, but if you want the most optimal route through a level, you want to have an ideal first level. And then follow up with another level where you're, And by the way, the order... Sorry, I'm just spacing out. Basically, the order in which you complete each of these levels definitely matters, as it could actually impact how easy or hard a time that you end up having playing this game. So yeah, this collection, unlike the Mega Man Anniversary Collection, this collection actually does So yeah, I'm just rewind all the way back to before I took that hit. So yeah, believe it or not, I did actually consider editing out all the rewinds for these episodes of Mega Man Legacy Collection. And the main reason why I decided against this was really, really simple. It was taking forever to get any work done. And you know what? Similar to Rewind and similar to Save States of Mega Man Anniversary, Rewind is and Yu-Gi-Oh! Early Days Collection. Rewind is essentially a feature in this collection, so it is free to use. This will result in some substantially longer episodes, but wow, I was able to hit these pretty consistently. Wow. Extra life. Oh. So I went with Bombman stage because it will help us with another level, and specifically another boss fight. Yeah, those spikes are instant death. We don't want to land on them, so... So there were some problems I had trying to remove all the rewinds to make it seem seamless. It's not just the little hub down on the bottom screen either. My original plan was simply to have that frozen. So yeah, I like... And this is kind of something else worth noting too. Usually when I play on emulator, I have a general idea on how far back I need to rewind. But because I'm playing this on actual hardware, makes figuring this shit out a lot trickier than it probably had any right to be. So, Bomb Man, what's our objective here? Well, we're barely out of life, so all we can really do is just shoot with our Mega Buster, which is our default weapon. As you can see, we can't really take any more hits from the sky. So the order in which I go on taking on each of these bosses is basically based on Video Games 101's recommended order. And they chose Bomb Man first. Now, Mega Man 1 does have a perfect playthrough condition beyond being the game. And that's to nab all the power-ups. And generally with Mega Man, you get all your power-ups by defeating all the Robot Masters. Those are the end-of-stage bosses, so to speak. So every once in a while, there will be a power-up that's locked behind something else or is kept secret somewhere else. Mega Man 1 actually has that secret, which is why we're going to Gutsman stage next. And this stage is a pain. And it is one of the reasons why I say the first Mega Man is not very good. I'm not gonna go out. In fact, I almost consider bumping this game to be my April Fool's Day to my. I originally planned to open up Mega Man Legacy Collection on April Fool's and cover Mega Man 1 for 12 Games of Christmas as an April Fool's Day joke. As this year's shitty game, so to speak, but yeah. So, here's the problem. This game is way too hard. Actually, it's not even just that's too hard. It's that Mega Man drops like a brick. I mean, you get a little bit of hang time when you jump, but you literally have no chance to save yourself if you miss a jump or miss a step. You know how some platformers, some of the best platformers out there allow for like a mid-air jump or something? Basically, if you're running in mid-air and you're still like a running or a walking animation, you can still perform. Even though you're in the air, you can still make a jump to get out of it in time. But that's before you actually enter the. But only if you have yet to enter the fall animation. So basically, a good shit. Another problem. The enemies respawn infinitely. In some ways, not even the ways that you would fully anticipate. As soon as they are off screen, they will come right back as if nothing happened, and it makes the game much more artificially harder. Especially when you combine really cheap. I still cannot reach that, so I give up on that. I decided to do a high jump, so that's a chance. So, the reason why I decided to do Bomb Man followed by, what's his name, Gutsman? It's really simple. Because Bomb Man lets us actually throw... This guy is weak to Bomb Man's abilities, so we want to throw bombs at him in order to take him down in 1 or 2 hits. Actually, it looks more like 3 to 4 hits. 3 hits. So I'm just trying to navigate around this boss so I can hit him with the bomb. And this is another reason why, and there is another, and honestly I think there's a benefit to just leaving the rewind in place. It literally proves why doing a perfect playthrough of the Mega Man Legacy Collection in hindsight is starting to feel like something that I'm deeply regretting. Because there's going to be challenges that I have to do after beat all 6 of these games, and yeah. Anyways, I got Gutsman's ability, so we now get to take on Cutman. However, the benefit of our new power-up isn't the only reason why I chose to do this stage afterwards. After all, Cutman is also a pretty ideal first level to do too. The reason I specifically chose to save this level to this point in time is because there is actually a secret power-up you can only get once you get Gutsman's weapon upgrade. So Mega Man's gimmick is basically a rock, paper, scissors situation. And to back this up, believe it or not, Mega Man in Japan was actually called Rockman in Japan. For that very reason, because of the whole rock, paper, scissors situation with the Robot Masters and their potential weaknesses. In fact, just about every enemy in the game that doesn't go down a one hit actually has weapon weaknesses. But because I am such a greenhorn when it comes to Mega Man, to the point that I'm completely dependent on Rewind to bail me out here. I think that is definitely an indication of something. So yeah, we need to take out Cutman. So yeah, you get good hang time when you jump, and enough hang time to help you with platforming. But if you miss a jump, or you jump too early, you know, you can't even jump too late, because jumping too late would imply... Because you jump too early, you won't make the platforms. You jump too late and you won't jump at all, you'll just drop like a brick. There is absolutely nothing about Mega Man in this game that is remotely floaty. Not even the good kind of floaty, like what you would get in a good Mario or a good Sonic game. So why did I not pursue Mega Man 1 for April Fool's Day? Well, 2 reasons actually. The first is simple. It was sort of a realization that I would not be able to finish Mega Man in time for April Fools. The second reason is because Mega Man 1 in particular isn't that bad. It's not very good, but it's not god-awful either. Look here, he just respawns straight away. So I'm gonna have to try to run underneath this boss. If you can't kill him, then you might as well just look for an opportunity to run underneath him. That guy's a damage sponge anyways. So yeah, Mega Man 1 is literally the only Mega Man game in this collection I would say is not very good. For that reason, for those reasons. It's the physics, and the game's difficulty can be a little cheap. So anyways, I decided to rewind so I could switch ahead of time because the purpose of this power-up is to pick up those blocks and throw them at Cutman. This one, just trying to figure out how am I gonna grab that. I mean, I completely screwed that up while rewinding that first time. I had him dead to rights at that point. Or this time, I'll make the same mistake as before, because this time I made sure to hit them, even if it came at my own expense. Another problem is that these power-ups kind of suck, in this first game, kind of suck. But now that we have Cutman's ability, we are ready to take on Electman. Believe it or not, he was an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, but he had since been replaced by Dr. Wily in Smash Ultimate. Just try to navigate this super tricky platforming section. That part was actually kind of easy. I try to... Just trying to find some way to avoid that attack. Which took so many tries, jeez. Alright. Alright. So I'm just gonna keep on climbing. Alright, so where do we go? Looks like up there. Alright. Yeah, I remember those disappearing blocks from playing Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures. That game takes a ton of its cues from Mega Man, by the way. Maybe someday I should cover that game for April Fools. I actually have the complete collection on the Switch. Unfortunately, not Angry Video Game Nerd, Nostalgia Critic got written out of the game and replaced by Gilbert Gottfried. The late Gilbert Gottfried. And this is so annoying. You are given such a narrow window to make it from one ladder to the next. It's ridiculous. At least that time affords you the opportunity of jumping. Just in time. And this is the reason why I grabbed the, Gutsman's ability? So I could grab those blocks and nab this power-up over here. This item will actually help with platforming in quite a bit, but for now I want to switch back to the blue bomber. Alright, so this obviously ain't working. Now, you can technically go back to these earlier levels that you've beaten. If you know what to do and where to go and in what order, it's not that bad. You know, you don't have to backpedal or anything. So long as you make sure to pick up the Gutsman ability, you'll be fine. I'll go ahead and grab this. So if I want to make it out there, I need to plant that platform. So that's what that power-up was for. It allows us to produce little platforms that you can jump on. If you're fast enough to get there, make it that far. At least there are no enemies, which actually makes our job a lot easier. Finally let us through. This game originally came out in 1987, the year we also got Legend of Zelda and Metroid on NES over here. Though those games technically came out in 1986, I believe. I know Legend of Zelda originally released in Japan in 1986. Not sure about the OG Metroid, which is another game I haven't played yet, that I've yet to cover yet on this channel. So I'm just trying to activate the right power-up for what we have in store here. So this boss is weak to Electman's abilities, and why I'm... Oh yeah, you take a ton of damage from bosses. Like, you can't take shit to save your life in this game. You have that massive health bar, and it doesn't mean shit against these robot masters. So powering one, I was finally in Cutman's ability. I was finally able to take out Electman. 4 robot masters down, 2 more to go. So next guy is Iceman, who is generally looked at as the weakest of the robot masters in the OG game, I think. There's always a gag robot master that is usually intended to be your first robot master. But, I don't know. And honestly, the most amazing part is, well, now things have turned south. Those infinitely respawning penguins, man. Jump over here. Yeah, that guy is actually vulnerable as scissors. And that was kind of labor intensive. So, you know, unfortunately these flame platforms can kill you, and since this is the bottomless pit, we're over. Now I have to deal with these infinitely respawning penguins as well as these platforms shooting projectiles at us. Anyways, alright, this time you'll reach this extra life. let's go. The big guy's there, which means we're almost there. Only dodge that femme fatale. So I think we need Electman's powers to take care of Iceman. That's more than a third of his health. Alright, so yeah, that was the switch to Electman's powers, take care of Iceman. And our final robot master is Fireman. So yeah, we are. And no, they're not the people that we call 911 for, because he does not put out fires, he causes them. So, a bit interesting trivia. I used to watch the Kids WB as a kid back when Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Were all the rage. And 4Kids held the rights to both of those series. Well, so Iceman's ability is more practical in helping us. I guess I just give up on that thing. Yeah, I might as well give up on those guys as well. We're already at full health. We don't need to pick them up. I'm literally trying to bypass these flames, but I can't. Finally. Alright, so Iceman, we're running low on Iceman's ammo right now, even though it's a huge help at getting through the lump. This is one of the rare instances where I'm using a Robot Master's ability outside of a boss battle. Because the ability to freeze those flames in their place is very, 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 very helpful. Alright. So anyways, on the WB, yeah, I'm just gonna circumvent this bull crap. On the WB, while Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh were airing on Kids WB, there was a show called Mega Man Anti-Warrior, which is actually based on the Battle Network series of games on Game Boy Advance. It is an anime based on that series of games with the same characters and same incarnation of Mega Man and everything. Some of the villains who work for Dr. Wily actually have their own anti-warriors, I suppose. They're all loosely based on the robot masters from the original game, including Iceman and Fireman. Alright, at least I don't have to deal with Mama Bear once again. Yeah. Alright, so we are going to basically just hit him with Iceman's powers, just spam it until he dies. I decided not to spam for a 0-hit run of either of these games because there's a lot of cheap hits in this franchise. But with all 6 Robot Masters defeat, we can now take on Dr. Wily proper, aka the big bad of the OG series. Before there was Dr. Robotnik, there was Dr. Wily. Oh, a lot of characters in Mega Man are also loosely inspired by characters from Astro Boy, almost taught Tezuka, a legendary manga artist, even predating Akira Toriyama of Dragon Ball fame, or Ichiro Oda from One Piece, for anyone who's wondering. Alright, and looks like we need to switch to Gutsman. You only pick these blocks up when you are perpendicular to them, so I'll help. And looky here. I have to climb all the way up to the very top just to get there. And yeah, you miss a jump, you'll have absolutely no chance at proper recovery. So where we go? Cutman. Cutman is super reliable for taking care of these super elaborate enemies. We have to keep using Gutsand's abilities. Something that's a bit of a recurring trend with... So, see, you're off the platform, you have no chance to recover with the mid-air jump. You will just drop straight down and you'll die. Oh, finally. Associated God says so I can replenish our health. From now on, once we defeat all the robot masters and take on the final set of levels of the game, whatever amount of health or energy you have left for any of your weapons or for Mega Man himself, that's all you get. So always be on the lookout for good places to replenish your health or for your energy. So at this stage, shoot. It took me 2 hits and I made it work. Halfway done with this one, and I'm probably gonna need to use it more often. But first we got a very familiar and iconic boss that we need to take out. And this is something I need to bring up. It's called pause buffering for Mega Man 1, which I did know about. But you know how during the fight against Electman, I kept accessing the save state menu, the save and load state menu earlier? Well, that was because I was pressing select, which on the original NES, select was paused, while the start button opened up the menu. Select in the original game would just pause the game. Well, pause was turned into the button that you press if you want to access save states, which is kind of stupid. So I just thought that the original pause functionality was removed. And this actually explains why I'm battling this guy the long and hard way, as opposed to the more efficient way, which is to pause abuse on this boss, so that way I'm rebuffering the damage, the initial damage from the attack on him, and that can actually help, and that's a technique that can easily be used to help completely. That is like, and that moveset can actually help us completely burn through enemy health. The problem was I at that point already assumed the pause feature was completely removed because select no longer paused the game. It just puts us into the save and load state menu. Also, since I mentioned Electman, who Yellow Devil happens to be weak against, is Cutman. Yellow Devil is also weak to, Electman. Not Cutman, Electman. Alright, let's go ahead. Fortunately, you can't damage Yellow Devil while he is still reforming his body. But what can we do? We've just defeated him. But this is just the first of, I think, 4 or 5 endgame levels in this game, all taking place at Dr. Wily's castle. Alright. We made it all the way past. Okay, we don't. Not quite. Oh, shit. Alright. Try to figure out what weapon to use next, because we're fighting Hutman next. It's kind of crazy, even though I already have all the weapons, I'm still just settling on using the default Mega Blaster against Cutman. Yes, Cutman is one of the easier Stage 1 bosses, if you choose to go after him first, but alright, so now it says that Cutman's dead. Alright, so at this point I want to continue feeding these energy capsules to the power-ups that need them the most. Now that I'm Cutman, so we should be able to deal with the Electman pretty easily. So he dodged Wily's assault. Oh, sorry, Electman's assault. We dropped down this hole. All right. Alright, so I'm switching to... Alright, so I'm sorry, I'm just trying to keep myself conscious for a bit. I'm not going after that extra life. And I don't know what's down there by heart. So, yeah. So I'm just struggling to take these turrets out. Alright, so even in the case where Mega Man has some level of skills that doesn't really need to be all that dependent on other guys, man, this is so freaking hard. Alright, so... So, what are we doing? We have power-ups, so that's not good. Notice that we have not yet used Fireman's abilities yet. Alright, looks like the boss is here. Clone of ourselves. So have to fight ourselves in order to move on. Fortunately, he will copy or remove more or less. So I'm just spamming the fireman's power up. Actively going out of my way to make this guy so much more daunting. That's just it. This is just about done. One or two more South or Central American factions that come and I say, I'm just mumbling. Was to defeat our clone, and now for was essentially the penultimate stage of Mega Man, which comes with a boss gauntlet. But wait, we already fought two of the bosses, two of the earlier Robot Masters. And yes, these boss gauntlets, they're all of them are simple late game hijinks, I should call it. Filled with highly distracting media. Alright. Alright, so flow water pushes us forward. Be careful because some of these enemies will pop out of nowhere, especially the penguins. Alright, so... I mean, hitting those penguins is tough, but they're missiles. So delirious. Alright. Taking these guys out. Literally try to take my time here. I'm not even walking anymore. The current's just pushing me. Actually, he cooks. Nothing, so cool. So really, all I can really do in the meantime is just shoot that metal contraption until it will his health down with the Mega Buster. And use the rewind feature whenever I can, because this is... definitely something. Pick up the bricks and fish them off. Now for the boss gauntlet. This time there's no Cutman or Electman, I believe, to help us out. And it's mixed in with all of the actual levels. Just try to rush through to the top. I used that power up at least that one time, and I'm switching back to the Mega Blaster. Alright. Alright, so what we have to do... So I just have to make my way over here now. And, yeah. I will say that Elsie and, what's her name? Weren't exactly playing their best feet forward. Alright. Alright, let's try to take out this Flame Man here. As per usual, we want to try to... Sorry, I was looking at... Wow, no. Using Flame Man's flame ability to take out Bomb Man. Which you would think would make sense until you realize that yes, Bomb Man is indeed weak to Fireman's abilities, but because we fought Fireman last and Bomb Man first, we never got to exploit that weakness. Oh, we did. We're gonna use Iceman, and we have to do what we can to preserve as much of our health as humanly possible. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, where's one? This one. I think that's Elect Man's abilities, which is super effective against Iceman. Oh, what just happened? I know I must have done rewind or something, but some of the frames just happened automatically. And now for Gutsman. Unfortunately, just trying to land these bombs dead center. At least close enough to deal damage, and I finally did it. So it looks like Flame Man might be our next pet. Run down this hall. Alright, I'll check. Because after this point, we won't be able to come back here anymore. Is the point of return? Let's do this. Final boss time against Dr. Wily. We're about halfway there to being dead. So basically, for this first phase, we want to be reliant on Fireman's abilities. Since we didn't have a chance to properly top up all of our abilities, it's fully committed to this fight. Alright, and after that phase, we now switch to the Cutman's weapon. Characters in the OG Mega Man are more or less inspired by characters from Astro Boy and other works of Osamu Tezuka. So I'm using Top Man to cut Dr. Wily down. And just like that, we defeated Dr. Wily, and he begs for mercy. Instead of killing him or arresting him, Mega Man just accepts his begging for mercy, and just like that, we've beaten the game. And with all the power-ups in the game as well, including the one missable one in Electman stage, we have achieved a perfect playthrough of our first game. Mega Man has ended the evil domination of Dr. Wily, restore the world to peace. However, the never-ending battle continues until all destructive forces are defeated. Fight, Mega Man, for everlasting peace. As the epilogue. So, yeah, lots of Mega Man. Lots of NES endings are kind of lame back in the day. I will at least give the Capcom the kudos for at least coming up with something elaborate like this, but yeah. This is I can see why this game was a flop, was a commercial failure when it first came out. Platforming is kind of cheap, the respawning enemies kind of cheap. Bosses absolutely demolish your health bar. It's kind of cheap. Thing is, it's not even abysmal. I would probably rate it around the 4 to 6 out of 10 range, which is basically reserved for games for mixed feelings. But don't worry, the next Mega Man game is a real masterpiece, a genuinely great one. Tune in next time for Mega Man 2 on NES. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. I greatly appreciate it. With all the way, this is Mike Gordon, sign out.